This is actually a picture of my wife and my daughters. And while I realize that a narcissist can survive and probably even thrive, honestly, in corporate America, because we do thrive there, and that a narcissist could probably, even in a weird way, thrive in ministry, and they do, oddly. If I was going to survive this cauldron of humanity, okay, as a narcissist, no. Something had to give. And the pain of narcissism I carry in my soul and my psyche. I have it on my hand. This lump right here, you probably can't see it, but it's a residual of a boxer's fracture. 5 guesses on how you get a boxer's fracture. Right, exactly. Okay, it's a break in the pinky bone between the knuckle and the wrist. And you get it when you hit something, right? I hit a wall, and then I hit a door, and then I hit an oak bookcase. I think that's what did me in, because it was in succession too. And I knew when I took the pulpit that next Sunday morning, because happily I'm a preacher at the time, right? And I have a cast on. Now, when you have a cast on, what sort of greeting do you get from people? What happened, right? So I'm taking the pulpit as a pastor in a local congregation, and I have to confess that I fly into a fit of rage because my teenage daughter rolls her eyes at me. Now, when a teenage daughter rolls her eyes, second from the end, by the way, if you want to know who to blame, if you want to know why a teenage daughter rolls her eyes at her father, it's because she has a message for him, and that message is, you're an idiot. Okay? You are a moron. You have no idea what you're talking about. And frankly, that message from your daughter ought to be something that the reaction to that ought to be something that a grown man has some control over. You ought to know when you're the parent of a teenage girl that you're just going to have to ignore stuff like that. But for some reason inside of me, it welled up this defensive rage that made me, how dare you? Can you feel the narcissism there? Can you feel what my daughter is now feeling? How diminished she's feeling? How dare you? And whenever somebody reacts that way, in that sort of defensiveness, okay, that's a sign of fear. That fear that maybe the attacker, the one attacking you, might actually be right. They might actually be onto something. That maybe just in fact, you are an idiot. Maybe you are a moron. And you better defend yourself, and you feel exposed. You feel found out, and when you feel found out, you lash out. That's what narcissism does. That's what shame does. What shame doesn't do, frequently, is provide you the opportunity to have empathy. In that whole period of time with my daughter, not once did I think to myself, I wonder if she's hurting. What kind of father doesn't wonder if their daughter is hurting? Not once in that interaction did I consider the possibility that my little girl, okay, the little girl that I swore an oath to protect, was hurting so badly that she had to lash out at me like that. And I wonder, what if it could have been different? What if somehow I could have offered empathy? What would our relationship be like today? And what scars exist between the two of us because she saw me that way, because she saw me say to her, how dare you, stupid little girl, insult your dad, mighty dad. And I didn't want to live that way anymore. I cannot live that way anymore. Empathy, there was an article in Psychology Today a couple years ago. It was titled, Empathy, the ability that makes us truly human. And as a sort of a pseudo-shame researcher, I can get behind that. But what's also commonly understood about narcissists, as I've already said, is they struggle to have empathy. So if you realize that empathy is the ability that makes you truly human, and as a narcissist you can't have empathy, then basically that winds you up as somewhat subhuman. Which is a surprise to the narcissist because, frankly, we think we're superhuman. I didn't want to sacrifice my life to subhumanity. So I had to come up with a plan, a process, a path. And that path involves a daily arduous battle with shame. First off, you have to recognize that there's a problem. You have a problem. And by the way, for a narcissist to acknowledge they have a problem is a brutal act of Congress itself. Because I don't have a problem, folks. You have the problem. The next step, research. Okay, if I have a problem called narcissism, what is this problem I have? And you'll find out that it's actually shame that is the root of the weed. Shame is the root of the disorder here. And the fact of the matter is, if you want to kill the weed, you got to get the root. Otherwise, the weed just keeps coming back. But shame is not a village that the narcissist is going to visit very often. Okay? And when they do visit, they don't want to stay very long because shame is a word of weakness. It's a word of patheticness. All right? Especially for some reason, and I don't really understand this, especially when you're a man. The idea of a man acknowledging such a thing. The next step in this path is to resist. Resist what narcissism is asking you to do. Resist if it's asking you to lash out, to fight, to argue, to always be right, to conquer, whatever. Resist. The next step, restore relationships in particular. Shame wants to isolate us. Shame wants us alone. Shame doesn't want us in contact with other human beings. And there's no better way for shame to accomplish that than to create a narcissist. Because frankly, who wants to be in human relationship with a narcissist? The best way to restore relationships is to apologize. Because in the apology, as brutal as it is for a narcissist, you acknowledge, I screwed up. You acknowledge, guess what? I'm only human. I am not superhuman after all. And there is something about that turning point when you begin to have the ability, the conscious ability to apologize. And so I practice it daily, honestly, which is the last and most important step, which is repeat all the steps previous, every day, all day long. Because this is a daily, arduous battle that, frankly, has been the hardest thing I have ever done in my life. I would like to say I've been doing this for 6 months, and I'm free, okay? 25 or 30 years I have been at this, okay? 25 or 30 years I have been in this battle. But when I look at this picture, I say to myself, it matters. I cannot leave this battle. It matters to these people. It matters to you. It matters to humanity that I don't function this way. And the one image I have in my mind of how much it matters is my other daughter. She came to me when she was a little girl. And she says, Rick, guess what? She said, I'm the ugly one. I said, what are you talking about? She said, compared to my sisters, I'm the ugly one. Like she just won an award. She said, my skin's blacker, my nose is wider, my lips are fatter, my hair's kinkier, and my heart melted. I'm like, how do you know? How are you even thinking this at your age? But that right there, folks, it shows my lack of empathy for my own daughter because it is frequently common for a young girl, a young African-American girl to struggle with that when they are that age in our culture and our society, and I missed it. And my daughter deserves more. So I changed her name. Changed her name to Beautiful. That's what a narcissist will do, by the way, is they'll fix it. Right? I can fix this. So I started calling her Beautiful, which you could see she now has tattooed on her arm. But today I realized you got to do more than just write stuff on your arm to offset the script that's been handed to you your whole life, probably from infancy. And I realize now that she's going to be in a daily battle with that voice that shouts out, you're the ugly one. And that voice shouting out day in, day out, you're the ugly one, you're the ugly one. That voice is going to cause her to make decisions she's going to later regret. Day in, day out. It will be a daily fight. And I don't have to look beyond this lump in my hand to know I'm no different. That despite the fact that I've published a book, I have a patent, I have a successful career in corporate America, despite the fact that I have a master's and doctoral degrees, I hear that voice that says, you're an idiot. You're a moron. You're stupid. That says to me, run faster, fight harder, faster, be stronger, be smarter, be right. And that voice causes me to make decisions I will later regret and am regretting today. But today, in this moment right now, I have a chance, I have a chance. Instead of fixing my kid, I can walk with my kid. I know what she's feeling. I can experience what she's experiencing. I can see what she sees. I get it. I can understand it. Oh my God, you know what the word is for this? Empathy. Empathy. People, I have empathy. I have empathy. Brene Brown says, in the face of empathy, shame cannot survive. And that is the first step to the death of narcissism. Okay? And that is an idea we're spreading. Thank you.